Hello everyone, this is Stephen Howson and this is the Warm Down. This is sponsored, as always, like my content in July, by the OneFootball app. And as you can see, we played Real Madrid yesterday and all of the information from the game is in there for you to go and check out, so you can see minute by minute how the game went down. You can also check out the lineups of both teams and the million different substitutes that we both used as Real Madrid. We've also got United's. You can drill down into some more stats as well by clicking on the players and seeing what that's got to offer. And obviously it's pre-season, so these aren't fully completed just yet, but come the start of the season there's going to be loads of information in here for you to be checking out. But the app's really good for other stuff as well, so you can go and check out all the news that's available, not just for Manchester United but literally around world football for everybody that's in there on the app. Loads of different sources is used by the app. As you can see, tons of different stuff that's going on here, and it's transfer silly season as well, so there's loads of transfer news that's going on here, as well as all the sources and the likelihood of those transfers happening. You've got Oxlade-Chamberlain to City here, that's a bit of a crazy one, isn't it? And we've also got Ross Barkley to Barcelona. Let's have a look at this one. I don't think that's going to happen, is it? Let's face it. I'm not sure if we can get on the Everton side, to be honest. Barcelona, Ross Barkley, I don't think so. Anyway, so this is the OneFootball app. Go and check it out. All the links in the description below. They are supporting this podcast for July, so please go and check those out and help them support me more. Thank you. Hello everybody and welcome to the Warm Down, the Stephen Howson podcast. Today I'm delighted to be joined by my mate Ian Edwards, comedian. You might have known him from, if you've ever been out to the Comedy Store over in LA, or if you listen to his podcast, which you definitely should go and check out, which is a soccer comic rant. He's a United fan. He is originally from the UK, but he's also lived in Jamaica. Now he's over there in America, ripping it up as a comedian. So, Ian, how's it going, my mate?
What's up, man? Just chilling. I'm just chilling in Los Angeles right now, and then by I say 7 o'clock later on, I'll be in Vegas doing shows tonight at the Mirage. So I'm just killing time in the Valley right now.
So this is going to be going out on Monday in the UK. It's Friday when we're filming this. So if we say last night, you know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Derby game. Last night, I thought that was the best performance that we've saw on pre-season from United. What do you reckon?
Yeah, because they looked... First of all, he started the strongest side I've ever seen him start, like possible, like attacking wise. It was very positive side, and I guess like I saw the other matches, and even though they won the one against the Galaxy 5-2, their attacking IQ wasn't that high. But last night it was like super on point. It was sharp, and you could see the possibilities. It gave you a hope, and they were playing Man City, and I just want him to coach. I want Mourinho to coach that positive throughout the season. I know there's some games you can't, but that's the most positive Man U side that I can remember him playing. I mean, he got new players, but to play Rashford and Lukaku, you know, those are very attacking moves, you know. And then Mkhitaryan too, you know, and Pogba, and you know, and when Herrera goes forward, and it's like, it's feel like he didn't just tell him to stay back, you know, try and get some goals too. There was like a Scholesness to the way he was playing. Like, he's been trying to take the long range shot last year. It didn't work out that much, but you know, he had a few in this game. So that, like, you know, they're getting into, you know, into 90-ish Man U style, you know.
That's not a bad shout actually, yeah, because there's been some instances recently where United just haven't committed men forward. We haven't attacked with pace, and I think I was saying to you all through the summer actually, since Lukaku's been on in it, like this guy's bringing pace to us. We lacked a little bit of pace with Zlatan leading the line. As good as he was leading the line, counter-attacks didn't happen. Whereas what we saw against City was, there was the Rashford goal. If you just isolate that Rashford goal, you had 5 City players trying to chase 4 United players, and we had options going forward. Mkhitaryan rolls it in for Rashford, who buries it into the opposite corner of the net. And you think, it's been so long since I saw a United team counter-attack somebody like that. And yeah, City didn't have their perfect strongest 11 out, but they had a strong 11 out, man. They had Aguero, De Bruyne, Yaya Toure, company. They was more than a match for that United side, and they didn't look like a match for that United side. We had the attitude to just show up and... When was the last time that you saw a United team turn up to a ground and go, I don't give a fuck who you are, we're Man United, watch what happens? Because that's what I saw from us last night, and that's really exciting, I think.
Yeah, I like seeing that. it looked like that Rashford goal looked like it was a raid on a village from Game of Thrones. It was like, it's too late, close the gates. Nah, it's too late. They're coming through. They're coming over the walls. They're coming over the sides. You can't stop this. And I liked the balance of the team because they attacked, but they defended well. The same attackers. So it's like I want him to trust them to do that through the season. Like you've worked up to it from the first 2 games, and now in the 3rd game, it feels like you put everything together. You know, I still want us to get like at least 1 more attacking midfielder, if not 2, or just get Perisic. Like I don't know what the Perisic deal is, or the Matic deal. Or they can get both, or at least like close the Perisic one. You know.
Well,
but I like the balance of what I saw yesterday.
Perisic offers something completely different to all of the other wide players that we've got. Everyone that we've got who's a wide player is a wide player for themselves, aren't they? They cut inside and they make things happen, whereas Perisic is the guy that creates things from wide. He puts all these crosses in, and I think with a big dude up front like Lukaku, I think that's an asset that we really need. And people are like, how does he fit in this system? How does he fit in this system? And you're like, I don't think he's going to play every week. I think we're building a squad that can take on multiple fronts, because next season we're not just going to need to put a challenge on in the league, we're going to need to put a challenge on in Europe, we're going to have to front up in the FA Cup. We've got to attack all 4 competitions next season, and I think Jose's building a squad to do that at the moment.
Yeah, I think he's trying to stock up. Like, that's why I think we need 2 more midfielders, like of quality, like a Matic, and I wanted to get both of them, you know, because you're going to need to mix and match for different competitions. Like he did it a lot this season, mixing and matching, and he took some chances. And I like yesterday that he played some of the young kids from one of the like, remember the last 2 games of the season or the last 3 where he just played he just rested players and played from the young kids. So I like seeing that. And this might be insulting to Man U fans, but I did like this one Man City player,
Foden.
Say again? Yeah.
Foden, yeah.
Like he came on the field like he's done this before, like against this level of competition. I'm like, who the fuck? He's 19.
He's 17.
Like, who the fuck
is he 17?
This?
He might be 17. Yeah.
Yeah, his age and his maturity out there, like he acted like this wasn't a test. Like, this is what I do. I'm in this team. Like, good luck to whoever needs whose spot he was in, because you're going to have problems getting that spot back.
Well, there were some people
saying
saying
good,
that
he was impressive.
He might have been man of the match, which isn't a bad shout, actually, because, yeah, he was on the losing side, but he was someone that definitely didn't deserve to be on the losing side, actually. I thought he's a very good player. He's one of the ones... There's a couple of lads that are playing at City in the youth teams at the moment. One is Jadon Sancho and the other is Foden, who City fans are absolutely raving about, and rightly so. Sometimes City fans rave about kids and you're like, whatever, mate, but these 2 are legit. And Jadon Sancho was in the papers yesterday that he's saying he might want to find an alternative route to first team football, because City are just signing every winger in the world at the moment by all accounts, aren't they? So I don't know where this kid's going to get games, and it's a bit of a shot in the arm for, considering they spent 400 million building this big academy system and everything like that. And if they've got jewels in the crown like Jadon Sancho, if he goes to somewhere else, there's talk that he might go to Spurs, there was talk that he might go to Arsenal. If he goes to one of them, the managers that are there, I think, will play him, and they'll probably get some real return out of him. I think that's just another... I think that's another blow to Pep, man, because this is a guy that come with this reputation. He was going to bring through youth and all this, that and the other, and he's doing the complete opposite, isn't he?
Yeah, they all say that, but they just all really want to win, and that's all that really matters. And their legacy is what matters more than, like, hey, I don't know this kid, but I have this ego. It got me to where I am, and I feed off my success, and I get more work from my success. I can't come here and take a chance on some kid when I can just buy a sure thing. But that's the problem with English football, period. Like, I think we have a lot of young, talented players that'll never see the light of day. You know, they'll just always be underwater trying to get their head up over it so people can see them. It's like, we'll rather spend some money on a name from somebody from a French league that we can't pronounce than, like, just bring a kid, you know?
Well, if you look at the English national team's an absolute embarrassment at the moment, isn't it? But if you look at the 21s, the 20s, the 19s, the 18s, the 17s, they're hitting finals, they're winning World Cups, they're hitting semi-finals, they're an absolute force to be reckoned with at every single age group. So you go, hang on, why are we absolutely dominating everything from 21 and under, but can't get a sniffing over? And it's because no one's prepared to take an opportunity. And also, I think you've got to point the finger at some of the players, because the players aren't prepared to go abroad because they know they can pick up 75 grand a week playing for an average Premier League team, or they would have to go abroad and pick up like a tenth of that playing for someone. Matty Willock's brother, I think it's Joe, might be Chris or Joe, I'm not sure which one it is, has just gone over to Benfica. He was out of contract at Arsenal and he's gone to play for Benfica, and I think absolutely total respect for that. Respect, because you're going out there expanding your horizons, and do you know what? I guarantee he ends up in the England team in a couple of years on the back of that.
Right. So I guess some of the players, like, listen, there's a lot of coaches, they don't want to get fired, they don't want to take chances, you know, and which is crazy, because the greatest coach in recent England history, Fergie, took chances. He preached, like, everybody, like, listen, like Phil Jackson was a great basketball coach. He wrote a book. People read it. And it's like, other coaches read it. Why wouldn't you follow? But nobody copied the triangle, and it got him rings with Chicago and Los Angeles Lakers. But no coach will follow the triangle. Like Fergie, greatest coach maybe ever in British football, and nobody's like, hey, let's go get some youth. That's what he did. It's so crazy. It is just so crazy. They're there, man. There's some good players there.
Well, look at the players. Jose
like
blooded.
Some go abroad and go abroad. Like a lot of kids leave their countries and come to England. We should just do the reverse.
I think it's the money, man. I think the money involved in the Premier League, that people are just too comfortable to take a risk, and there's the mentality that.
But you'll be back.
Yeah, you get it. You're gonna get it back, aren't you? You're gonna come back like they're gonna buy you like you're a foreign player and you're from here. Look at Pogba. Pogba's obviously French, but Pogba came through United, couldn't break through because Fergie was at fault here. He was not willing to take a risk on someone who was obviously good in Pogba. He goes away to Juventus now. He went to a top team and still managed to break in. He comes back for a world record fee. Now, there's players in academies up and down the country, even mediocre academies, that could go out there and could go and do bits around Europe. You could go to one of the top leagues in Holland. You can go and play for one of the top teams in Holland. You can go to Portugal. You can go to France. You can go and get games where you're going to be a first-choice player. You're going to get 25, 30 games. And I don't really give a fuck about the English national team, but the English national team would benefit hugely if players just had the bottle to start going out there and doing this. People won't buy English players abroad because there's so few English players that there's this massive premium on them. But ones that get out of contract, they should all go and experience it, and they're definitely going. Willock, who's gone to Benfica, he's a good player anyway. But that mentality to go, nah, fuck this. I'm not getting a chance at Arsenal. I'm going to go Benfica. Benfica love selling players on, don't they, for a big load of cash. So I guarantee he's going to go out there and he's going to get bought back, possibly even by Arsenal. This could be their Pogba moment. This could be their guy.
Pogba moment. That's funny. And the thing is, like, when you leave and you go abroad, people, if you're English teams will look at you as if you're exotic because now you're a foreign player. You're that foreign player whose name they can't pronounce. But you're from there, but because we like buying people who are not from us. Because I think English teams have low self-esteem. It's like,
oh, this kid's got a really foreign name. He's called Joe.
Yeah. Like there's this real foreign guy. His name is Harry Brown. He's Italian. I think he's Italian.
Well, Eric Dyer actually grew up in Portugal, didn't he, and come through at Sporting Lisbon before Tottenham signed him. So he had that technical thing that everyone was getting all excited about. Oh, he's come from the continent. He's exotic. He's just another player.
He's just another player, yeah. It's just where he came through. That's what they care about.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you're right. Players should go.
It'd be a massive benefit to the English national team. It'd be a massive benefit. I've said this loads, man. Actually, do you know what's really good? It was announced this week, is the African Cup of Nations being moved from January to June. Now, that's going to suck for the players that have got to run around in Africa in fucking June. I imagine that's pretty warm. But for African players and people coming up through Africa, they're going to be more appealing now to European teams because they're not going to lose them for 2 months in the middle of the season. So I think that's going to be a massive move. Right. I think the game is not a global game, is it? We kid ourselves that it's a global game, but it's a European-centric game that everyone else gets to play, I think.
Right. So they're moving it from June to January, and the African Cup of Nations is every year, right?
It's every January. They're now moving it to June, so it falls in line with all the other competitions.
Oh, okay. So they're moving it out of the way of the season. Right.
Yeah, because every year it's in June. It was every year, then it went to every 2 years. And it was every January. So I think Fergie come out and said, I'll never sign an African player because every year I'm going to lose them for 6 to 8 weeks. What's the point? So I think it's a massive move for him to do that. And I really want to go and check one out anyway because I can imagine there's some flavour there.
That's good. That's like a Christmas move for them. You know what I mean? Like the reason why the Premiership is so appealing is in Christmas time in other countries there's nothing to watch, but you got the Premier League, and then like you can become a star, and then people are like attracted to this league that took them through the winter, and so this is a good like when there's no World Cup or no European Championship or Copa America, then you got African Cup of Nations, boom. Like, you're right, it's a good spotlight time. They should have been moved this. What took them so long?
I think there was also a concern that Africa, of all places, in the middle of June is probably not the nicest time to be running around playing football, I wouldn't have thought. Because that's going to get hot as a motherfucker. But do you reckon what you just said there about the Premier League being one of the only things that's on telly at Christmas, obviously in other countries, do you think that's one of the main reasons why it's been picked up everywhere and has become so popular worldwide?
Yeah, for sure. Because it's the only show on grass, where like all the leagues shut down and they created this demand that only the Premiership is supplying. And it's game after game. You get to see everybody play. And it's like, because sometimes the Premiership is not the best league, but it's always the hottest league. And for me, that's the only reason why. Like, especially like this Christmas, I was sitting home and I was just watching. I was just watching game after game. There were no distractions from other leagues. It was just all Premiership, and I enjoyed it.
Because I've always wondered why the Premier League was that one because obviously the Premier League's the one with all the money now and the billions and billions of dollars worth of TV rights. But I always wondered, like, why the Premier League and why not the French League? Why wasn't it the Italian League? Why wasn't it the Spanish League? And obviously there was that competitive edge to the Premier League, which everyone goes on about all the time. But I didn't think that was enough to make it like a product that everyone in the world wants to get into. Maybe it is that. Maybe it's because you have a lot of Christmas shutdowns, you have the winter break in all them countries, and maybe the thing that a lot of coaches think holds English football back is actually the one of the selling points for it to that worldwide TV audience.
Yeah, I think it's a good marketing strategy for it, you know what I mean? Because, like, you figure La Liga has Ronaldo and Messi, but why isn't it bigger?
Yeah.
They have the two biggest players in the world, but why isn't it bigger? Because the history of Christmas games, plus, like when Man U was like at its peak, and and Liverpool, and Gerrard in his prime, like imagine games with those guys in Christmas time, and people getting to see quality players, a Lampard in his peak. You're like, when you see those guys play, you're like, doesn't matter what team they play for, you're like, those are quality. So you're going to be like, yeah, I want to keep watching those guys. It doesn't matter where they play, who they play for, what league. Like, those guys stand out, You see Michael Owens in his prime, you just keep watching it.
What's the crack locally? Are you going watching any MLS locally live, or are you just watching European stuff on TV?
Say that again? Are
you watching any MLS locally? Are you catching any games during the season?
No, I'm getting killed out here for that. So my view on the MLS, it's like, listen, you ever date a person that didn't respect themselves? Cause what does it make you do? It makes you not respect them, right? So this is what. So, and then you only give your time to the people you respect because they respect themselves. So now there's a lot of stuff going on. There's life, there's tons of football, and there's the MLS. So I live in America. I want soccer to thrive in America. So, but how can I? So, but I have to make time to watch the MLS. But why would I make time for a league, right? This is what's going on in America right now. There is the Gold Cup, right? That's a national tournament between the top American players versus Canada, everybody in the CONCACAF, Mexico, Honduras, Costa Rica, Jamaica, and they're playing for this title. Meanwhile, the MLS season is going on, right? So it's like, who's playing in the MLS? The best players, or some of them playing on the American team in the CONCACAF? Then, at the same time, you let Real Madrid, Man U, Man City, and whoever come over in the middle of your MLS season and interrupt your season. Do you think in the middle of the Premiership season, if the LA Galaxy wanted to come and say, "Hey, can we play a game against Man U in the middle of their Premiership season?" What would they say? Hell no, we got business to handle. We are trying to win this league. We're in the middle of a season. We do not have time to have you have an exhibition game with us, or we take our season seriously. And the MLS is just trying to market. They're not taking their product. It's like music. Like, you know when somebody is like a real musician, and you know when somebody's commercial. And even though you might sell, the person who's the real musician is the one that's respected and remembered and listened to. So the MLS has to be like, there's too much shit going on right now that's involved in MLS that has nothing to do with the MLS, and it's just trying to get eyes on them, and then they should be focused on, let's just be a good ass league.
Didn't we played Real Salt Lake on Monday, Tuesday? Right. They've got a game. They had a game yesterday as well, didn't they? Their league game.
Yeah, league game. And then before, Man U played the Galaxy, and then they had games. They're playing their league. They're trying to win the league to win the championship. But how important is your championship when you're just playing an exhibition game in the middle of your season? The Premier League would never allow that. The coaches don't even want you to go off on international duty. Yeah. Much less come play a whole team from another continent in a league that has nothing to do with you. It's like, nah. So that's my issue with the MLS. Like, when they're focused, I'll be focused.
You go into the United and Madrid game. When's that? Next weekend, is it?
Yeah, I think I'll be in Montreal. I'm going to go to the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, so I'll be out there. So I'm going to miss it. I wanted to see that game.
Good. Yeah, I think that's an interesting one, because we play them again in about 2 weeks anyway, don't we, in the Super Cup?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know how I'm going to feel about however we turn up against them. What's your thoughts and expectations? You what?
How do you feel about the Super Cup?
I don't really give a fuck about the Super Cup. We're not going to win it, are we? I mean, if Madrid turn up and decide that they want to win it, they're beating us. I don't think we're on the level yet. We're not, are we? Let's not kid ourselves. I could sit here and go, well, Jose Mourinho's tactically this, that. They're fucking better than us, let's face it. Like, they're the European champions. They're the first team to win back-to-back European titles for a reason, because they are legit as a motherfucker. Right. So, if they decide that they're winning that game, they're winning that game. If they take it a bit lightly, we might have a chance. But even if we do win it, so what? So it doesn't matter, does it? If we finish next season and we come 5th, but we won the Super Cup, there's not going to be no parade around Manchester, I don't think. So, fuck the Super Cup. I'd rather do well in the league and get beat 10-0 in the Super Cup.
Hilarious. How far are we behind Madrid? Like, because we're going to be playing in the Champions League with teams like this. So we need to straighten all this shit out, It's not even just league-wise. We need to get good enough. So the Super Cup is a good measuring stick, win or lose. Like, we'll probably lose it, by losing it, we'll see how far we are and what we need to do to fix what we have, because we're gonna be in the same league.
Yeah, there's a chance we can draw them as well.
There.
Did they win the league? Did they win the league?
What?
Oh, they're in pot one anyway because they're European champions. So we could actually draw them in the group stage. So we could be drawing them straight out of the hat. We could have played them 4 times before Christmas already this season.
That's crazy.
It is crazy, but we can play them next week in a friendly. We can play them in a Super Cup, and then we can draw them in our group. So we could have had fucking 20 goals shit past us by then. I don't think we're that far off them, to be honest. I think if David De Gea stays in our goal and doesn't end up in their goal, we win that little comparison. Defensively, we're not far away. I think if Luke Shaw can get fit, stay fit, and recreate some of the form that he had before breaking his leg, I think he's an excellent left back. I think they probably just about edge it because they've got a more settled back four. I think Varane and Ramos played a lot of games together, been very successful together. I just don't think we've got. I think Baye and Lindelof and Rojo, between them, there might be a really good partnership to be made, but you'd have to say what Madrid have got at the moment is just a bit higher than us, proven. You know, maybe potential-wise we've got it, but proven, I think you have to say definitely Madrid. Midfield, if we get Matic, you got Matic, Pogba, Herrera.
Right.
Against Cruz, Modric. I say that goes to Madrid again. I mean, not by much, but probably just edge it over to them, just about. Maybe that's a bit more even. And then attacking lineup, you go, well, do you know what? Mkhitaryan, massive thumbs up. Lukaku, massive thumbs up. Rashford, potentially massive thumbs up, but he's not as prolific because you got Rashford's got 19 goals in 71 appearances for United. In that time, Ronaldo's probably scored 85 goals. So, we're comparing different things here, but I think their attack completely shits all over ours. So they're better than us in a couple of departments, I think. We're probably equal in a couple of departments. I think they've been at the top longer. They've not had that falling off period. And it's mad that how they've been able to sustain that because they pretty much change a manager every single season, don't they? And they still manage to maintain. I don't know where they'd be without Ronaldo.
Right, they make incremental changes because they don't, even when Mourinho was there, they didn't go overboard. Like Modric has been there for a while. Bale is new. Like they got rid of one of their newest players. Bale is not even that new. He's been there like 4 years, right? Like they got rid of Hamas, right? And Hamas was there a minute, but they like Zidane took some chances. He brought in some youth, And but the left back, the back's been there. Varane been there since Mourinho been there. But the thing is, I don't rate Varane like everybody rates Varane. I think he's very, very susceptible to be beaten. He makes a lot of mistakes out there, and nobody's talking about it.
I think he's a big name because he's one of those that's really good on the ball, isn't he? So I think people overlook his defensive frailties a little bit because they're like, because he can dribble it a little bit for a defender. Somehow excuses the fact that he gets turned. And
he scored some big goals against Barcelona when they needed it.
Yeah.
But
and Ramos scores a right load of goals and kicks people, good. So people think he's amazing. But I think he's a bit of a liability at times as well. Yeah. But it works at the highest level for him. Generally, it kind of works.
Yeah, it works. And they got tougher. They got tougher. Like under Zidane, they got tougher. Like because it's essentially the same players since Ancelotti.
Benitez and Ancelotti
used them, and Benitez too. But Benitez, it's the same players for almost since Mourinho. So it's Mourinho, Ancelotti, Benitez, now Zidane, which not that many changes, But Zidane made them tough. He made them like defend and attack. Mourinho just had them defended.
No, I didn't. He didn't know because they scored a record amount of goals under Mourinho in La Liga.
Yeah, but I think I'll take it back. He had them defending when they played Barca.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's Mourinho, though, isn't it? I mean, he always is going to try and look after the result first, and he doesn't always take a chance. I hope what we saw last night gives him the confidence that he can take
Right.
Pep on and beat Pep. Because we saw frailties in City's defence last year, but people was just some people wasn't and some people was up for it. Like we saw them lose to, I think Liverpool beat them, maybe I think Arsenal beat them, Leicester beat them. You see a lot of teams that beat them by just going fuck you, I'm having you. United should have beat them at home. We was easily good enough to beat them at home. We was shit in the first half. In the second half, we was a lot better. We could have beat them, and I think if you go toe to toe with them, especially if you've got an attack that can score goals, and I think we have. I think Lukaku's a scary prospect for that City defence. And I think Rashford and Lukaku, because Rashford's going to run at all them defenders. We saw what he did against Chelsea. If you keep the mentality of that Chelsea match last year, where we absolutely destroyed them, and you say, we're going to do the same to City, we will do the same to City, I think, as we did last night.
Right. And I wouldn't sleep on Rashford as a midfielder either, because that's what he was originally, and he got changed to a forward, right? So
no, he kind of played at 18's level. He was kind of played everywhere across the forward line. He'd played once or twice as a 10, but he would often come off the wing or straight as a number 9. He definitely played up front, but he wasn't week in, week out.
But I think I guess what I'm trying to say, I think he's a better passer than we think.
I think he's crossing from the right-hand side. It's mint. He's too reliant on that right foot to play on the left, I think. So he always tries to cut back. And I think Walker kind of dealt with him quite well last night. And I think that's why Mourinho switched him and Lingard to the opposite sides. And I think once he came on the right-hand side, it wasn't long after he switched, he got the goal. So, yeah.
Right. And then what's Mourinho afraid sometimes to use Blind as a holding midfielder?
I'd love to see
Pogba up.
I'd love to see
I think Blind would make a great holding midfielder, but he never puts him there.
He played there a little bit for Van Gaal and was amazing in his first season. Like, literally amazing.
Right.
But I think I could beat him in a race. He's pretty slow, innit? Like, he's got no...
He's like Xavi Alonso-ish. Like, he's smart enough to be in a position.
Yeah, he is,
Because, like, listen, if you're playing... What is he, left back sometimes? Like last night, was he left or he was left back, right? Yeah. Like, if there's any place you could get beat for speed is when you play left back, and he plays that most of the time, and it's rare when he's been embarrassed out there throughout the entire Premiership season. So it's like, at least in the middle, you got more help,
Look at when we played Everton a couple of years ago.
He can defend out there.
We played Everton a couple of seasons ago, and he kept Lukaku quiet, which physically they should be absolutely no match whatsoever. It's like a child.
Yeah. He's smart, man. He might not be fast, but I think he just knows how to use his lack of speed really well. He doesn't get caught out of position a lot. I think he'd make a good holding.
Yeah, I absolutely think he would. I'm just not sure Mourinho's able to go in there. I think Mourinho wants... I think that's why we saw Fellaini a lot last season, because I think Mourinho wants that powerful kind of guy in midfield. I think he wants that physical presence, which I think is why we ended up going with Pogba up front, because Lukaku definitely gives you that that physical presence. I mean, you saw it mostly in the LA Galaxy game, really. A little bit against Salt Lake. Didn't really see too much of it last night. But you see when he's just dribbling with it and defenders are coming and he literally just leans into him and they fall over. And you're like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Like, what a prospect that is for us. And he can move as well, can he? He's so fucking quick. Like, he's not going to be doing it 90 minutes, but he is a fucking absolute beast, man.
Yeah. It's like last year, like, Everton used him right. They used him the way you don't traditionally use a big guy like that. It's not, they didn't Heskey him, like, we'll lob the ball to you. He came downfield, got the ball, turned around, faced you, head downfield, and just, he's got like a short man speed. He can dribble and keep that ball to his foot and just go. I just want to see him. The goal he scored last night, that was world class.
The angle was, for sure. There was no margin for error at all.
Yeah, that's that gave me hope, because I don't always believe in Lukaku,
Well, yeah, you said this to me on Instagram.
Oh, gave me hope.
You said this to me in DMs. You was like, not sure on the guy. I think those counter attacks that you see, where where you win possession back around the halfway line and you can unleash somebody like Lukaku from there. That's where he was his strongest for Everton. And you think, Everton fans say, oh, sometimes you could keep him quiet in a game. Well, do you know why you could keep him quiet in a game? Because you're fucking Everton, and that's all you've got. So when he comes up against a better team, they go, right, who's the threat? Oh, it's Lukaku. It's not Lukaku and that guy and that guy and that guy. It's Lukaku. So you either cut the supply off to him or you cut off his movement. And if you do one of those, he's not going to be as effective. But when you play Manchester United or you play somebody like Real Madrid and you go, we need to keep Ronaldo quiet. Well, if you keep Ronaldo quiet, Bale's going to hurt you. If you keep Bale quiet, Modric is going to hurt you. And that's what United are starting to build. If you try and keep Pogba quiet, Herrera's going to pop up. If you keep Herrera quiet, Mkhitaryan's there. If you keep him quiet, oh shit, we've just left Lukaku unmarked at the back post. That's what we haven't had in the last few years. That's what we had under Fergie. That's, you know, when Wayne Rooney was still at his peak, you had Robin van Persie, you could bring Hernandez off the bench, you still had Giggs, you still had Scholes, you had all of these. You can't win a title with one or two players. You've got to have multiple threats. And I think you can't do it in one window, and I think Mourinho's done excellent so far in adding threats. And I think that's where we're going to see a big improvement. I actually think Lukaku's going to score significantly more goals this season than he did last season. But I reckon he's going to add 10 to what he scored last year.
I hope so. I hope so. For real. I think Rashford's going to score a lot too, and he's going to have a ton of assists. That's what I think so too. And I'm looking at Fellaini, like you might not even need an extra midfielder if there's a game. Was it I think it's in the Euro finals, the Europa League finals. Like class, he played really well. And if that Fellaini shows up, we only need one more midfielder. Because I'm trying to think of the last game I saw, like the real, and I think that was, and he was impressive. And like he can do that. Like, can he do that all the time?
I think as long as you keep him in their third. What we did with him in the Ajax game was we used him as our outlet. We went fairly direct, and he was the guy that we was going direct to. And then all he had to do was a simple ball to somebody else. Pogba, Herrera, someone else, Mkhitaryan, and they then start attacks from that. But that was our point of focus. Now, if you bring in Lukaku and you've got Fellaini as well, then you've got multiple points of focus, and they can't double mark two guys at the same time. So you're going to leave people open. And I think Fellaini's got a place in the squad. I don't think I want to see him starting every week. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I don't think he deserves to be in a squad, because I think there is a time and a place for Fellaini. And sometimes against those bigger teams, you want a physical thing with him. You want to maybe even get a bit dirty with him. You want to rough him up. That's the idea. I just don't want him anywhere near our box. I want him up at their box causing chaos. Because he causes chaos, doesn't he? Right? You bring chaos to the table. Keep it up there, yeah? Not away from the nice shit at the back. Like, let's just, go break some stuff that doesn't matter.
Don't put chaos near the chime. Keep him
in the garden.
Just keep him there. Yeah, keep him in the garden. Yeah, hilarious.
Where do you see us finishing next year then? So if we go have a quick look at like what we've got in terms of Chelsea won the league, fairly straightforward. Right. No one else really fancied it. I don't think last year Chelsea fancied it, and no one else could be bothered turning up. Do you see them being as big a threat this season now they've got European football again?
Shit. I would say that helps us, but we got European football too, so it doesn't help us. So, like, I think right now they'll win again. The transfer window has to be over, or like to really know what's up. You know what I mean? It's because one or two players on an already good team makes a big difference, and we just need to know which one of those really good teams are going to get those one or two players. That changes everything.
Chelsea could lose Hazard. Arsenal could lose Sanchez, and that is an absolute game changer for both of those teams if that happens.
Right. And you don't know, Spurs looks like they're holding on to people. Spurs players, like, they got rid of, they're shitting on the guy that played for Man City yesterday. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name.
Walker,
right? And it's like you should have kept Walker. You needed him. Like Spurs are ridiculous. It's like, hey, you don't get rid of a guy because you have a replacement. Like, you haven't seen that replacement play an entire season like the guy you got rid of. That guy was great coming in playing once every 4 or 5 games. Let's see this guy. What if that guy gets injured? Like that's like the Walker thing is a big blow to Spurs, and they won't know how big of a blow it is until the end of the season.
Their move to Wembley as well. No team, I don't think, I can't remember at least. I'll say that because I'm sure someone in the comments can tell me. But I don't remember a team that ever moved into a stadium and did better than they did in their last season at their actual stadium. And Spurs have got now 2 years of 2 new stadiums that they've got to settle in at. So they're playing at Wembley for all their matches this season. And they did fuck all there in the Champions League. They was awful. So if they don't settle in nice and quick, they could be off the pace before September, October. And out of the title race at least. I don't know if they'd be out of the top 4 by then, but they could certainly be out of the title race. And then next season they're going to have the same thing. And if they've got to pay for the stadium the way Arsenal did, and if they're struggling paying for that stadium, if they're not going to be investing, we might have seen Spurs peak last season or the season before. We might have seen the best of them already, and this might be a team now that slips back out of the top 4, the top 6 even.
It might. The only thing I kind of disagree with is I think Champions League is different than the league. Like, they played better teams because they were the second best team in England, but they were playing like better teams in the Champions League than them, you know. So I think that was an issue. I think they'll get used to Wembley. I think in the beginning, whoever plays them early has the best chance to beat them or tie them, and then they'll get used to it. So it's depending on how much damage they sustain in the early periods of the season at Wembley. But but the rest of it, if that stadium might force them to sell some people, you know, and if they sell some people, then they forget it. Goodbye. They're not. We've seen their best.
It might not even be the sales. It might be just the sheer lack of buys. It might be that they're not bringing players in. They might keep hold of what they got, but not add to it. And you've got to add to it because if you just stand still, everyone else has just gone past you, haven't they?
But to their credit, all they did over the last few years is really like build a team out from their youth system, and it's working. So they might know about other players that they're just going to keep bringing through. So it's kudos to them just for trusting their youth system. I think more teams should do. So I can't shit on them for who they didn't bring in. Plus they spent money on Janssen and got like 5 penalties for it.
Oh, hang on,
out of him for it.
When they sold Bale, what year was that? Was that 2013?
Yeah,
I'm just going to Google.
4 years ago, yeah.
Because they signed like £100 million worth of players that summer, which isn't even a lot now. But then that was a crazy, like, oh my God, Spurs are doing madness. Yeah, they sold Bale and they spent all that Bale money, didn't they? So what was it? 2013, 14. I'm just going to have a look here, see who they bought, because they bought loads of players. And I think all of them turned out to be shit. Where is it? Sign-ins. Who did they sign? Transfers in. Paulinho for 17 mil.
Yeah.
Nasser Chadli for 7 mil. Soldado for 26 mil. Capoue. Carichiles. Ericsson and Lamella. I mean, Ericsson stuck around, obviously. He's obviously done amazing.
Ended up being something.
Lamella's still there, but he was their biggest signing that summer, and he's not really lived up to it, has he? I mean, I don't know. I think he plays pretty regular, but he only played 9 times for him last season.
Right.
So I think even if you bring in players, they did arguably better bringing in players through their academy than when they spent 100 million there. I mean, that was 100 million wasted, really. Then, I mean, apart from Ericsson,
they better they better stick to their academy and just keep building through that. And I think they're going to do that because they want to save money, because they,
I think
we'll see if they got anybody in there.
Yeah, I think they got to, but I think you can only go so far. Like, I mean, Fergie obviously did really well with bringing through academy players, but it was a mix of the academy players and those world-class players from elsewhere, which give you the blend to go and do stuff. I think,
Right.
I'm not sure there's many examples. I mean, Barcelona might be the exception to the rule there, because the players that they brought through in that golden era where Pep was there was unbelievable talent. I mean, how often do you get to bring through Lionel Messi? I mean, if Spurs had a Lionel Messi in the academy, like an actual Lionel Messi in the academy, yeah, fuck it, don't buy anyone. Just play him and see what happens. I'm sure that'll be all right. But how often have you got a Lionel Messi in the academy? It might be a once-in-a-lifetime player, really, let's face it.
Yeah. I mean, Barca had a Xavi and Iniesta in the academy, too. We'll see.
City.
We'll definitely see. Like,
City.
Who's good in our academy now? Say again?
Oh, go on then. We'll go on. No, let's do City and then we'll talk about ours if you want then. So we got City.
No, because you went out and I didn't hear it.
All right, okay. So Man City got, last season, scored loads of goals, created loads of chances, couldn't defend a lead to save their life. And now this summer, I've just gone out and bought way loads more attackers. And no defence. Well, they bought Kyle Walker, haven't they? But they've not really addressed the problems that they was having in terms of defending. Pep Guardiola says that he doesn't train defence.
I saw Mangala yesterday in that game. Yeah. I thought. So what did they loaned him out last season?
I don't even know if he got loaned out. If he just sat there doing fuck all, I don't know.
I saw him yesterday. He did a fancy move at one point in the game. I was like, all right, Mangala. Whatever.
I think I saw him got twisted up by Pogba at one point. That's about the only thing I can remember.
Hilarious.
Where do you think City are going to do next year? Because I think if they don't do anything next year, if they come outside the top two, can you see Pep sticking around for a third season of failure?
I mean, it depends on how determined he is to prove his point. Like he's got to get defenders, man. It's ridiculous, and again, it's all up to what is he going to do before the transfer window is over. Like the whole world knows they need defenders and goalkeeper. They need a back five. You know what I mean? How many teams need? You're in the champion. How many teams need a whole back five?
We spent nearly 200 million, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm probably going to need another 100 million." And you're like, "What the fuck? How can you have spent so much money in the last 2 years and still not have anything like a complete looking squad? How can they justify buying another winger?"
They can't, and they shouldn't.
I mean, look at how many forwards.
Defenders, man. That's your issue.
De Bruyne, Sterling, Gabriel Jesus, Aguero, Nolito, Silva, the other Silva. Like, unless he's going to invent some crazy formation with one centre half and a right back, like, how the fuck are all these guys going to fit in? I don't know how they're going to fit in. And them egos, we saw that in the early 2000s at Real Madrid, when Real Madrid had Figo and Zidane and Beckham and all of them boys, the first Galactico era, and you're like, oh my fucking God, look at the state of this team. And then they don't win anything because there's too many egos and not a team. And I think that's what Pep's sort of assembling at City. He's assembling like a Galacticos team that just doesn't like mesh together very well.
Yeah, and actually Real Madrid was fine until they were like, let's sell the prototype. Let's sell the best holding midfielder probably of all time. When they sold what's his face? What's the French guy?
Makelele.
It's like that was their biggest mistake. To be like, we don't need a Makelele. Listen,
no, we're just attack.
If you're not gonna have defenders, you at least need a Makelele. Like, you're out of your mind. You don't make that mistake. So that's when
that was their mistake, really. Because on paper, that Real Madrid team wins every game 15-0. Like, you're not getting near them. They had Ronaldo, original Ronaldo, and Figo, and Zidane, and Beckham. Like, how many opportunities do you want to create goals, and who do you want to finish them? And Raul was there as well, and you just think, oh my fucking days, how can't you win? I'm pretty confident me and you as a managerial duo would have done bits with that team. I'm sure we'd have done all right. Fucking hell. So yeah, you said United's academy. Who's coming through United's academy? Who have we got that's gonna make noise? Probably no one next year, because we've got a couple of guys that are 16, 17 that are a bit way off. Obviously, we had Angel Gomez come through, make his debut as the 4th youngest ever United player, which is insane. Slots right in after Duncan Edwards, of all people, to be the youngest debut. Coaches think he's a future Ballon d'Or winner at the club, but I think he's a couple of years off the first team yet. I don't think Mourinho's ready to just throw him in. I would love to be able to sit here and say, oh yeah, I think he might use him in the EFL Cup, but I don't think he will. I think he's just going to keep developing him, and I think that might be the right thing as well, to be honest. We got a couple of lads coming through. This under-18s team this season's got a chance to go and do something in the... there's the under-19s UEFA Youth League, which is essentially the Champions League for the kids. So you only qualify it if your first team qualifies for the Champions League. Your under-19s qualify for it as well. And for the group stage, they play the same fixture. So if we draw Real Madrid and Juventus and Ajax, then our kids play Juventus, Real Madrid and Ajax. But then obviously after then it separates, because they're not going to get the same results as the first team. And then they go into their own little knockout stage, where I think it's only a one-legged thing. So instead of having home and away leg, they just play one leg. So it finishes about end of March, early April, I think it finishes. I think that we really want to go and do some bits in that, and I think it'd be nice to see us do some bits in that, because we never won it, and I think we've got a really good team at the moment that could win it. So I would like to see us go for it, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think there's anyone that's coming through at the moment that's going to do stuff this season that we've not already seen, at least. I think Tuan Zabia, Fosu Mensah. Oh god, yeah. I fucking love him.
You think Mensah will get more time?
Yeah, he's got to, hasn't he? He's got to.
How's he been looking? Like, I only saw the game yesterday, you know.
I think positionally against Real Salt Lake, I think I won't say you could put him to blame for the goal that they scored, but he was one of the players that was out of position, including Bay. Bay steamed out of nowhere as well. I think his positioning is not quite there, but he's only played your right wing back a couple of times, so I think a little bit of work on his positioning, because he's kind of fucking crazy, isn't he? The way he just tears around the place. But I like crazy at times as well. I think you need a bit of...
He's young as shit. How old is he?
He's 19, I think. Or just about to turn 19. So yeah, he's
young.
Yeah, he's young and he's fucking nuts. So I think you just got to let him be young and be nuts. And I think midfield is the place where he'll end up. I think he's a real handful in midfield. He's a big lad. He's a strong lad as well. I spoke to him at the Player of the Year Awards and asked him if he watched Full Time Devils, and he said yes, and give me a big fucking hug, and he proper squeezed the shit out of me, and I was like, fucking hell, there's some meat to him, like. So I think midfield is the place that I would like to see him play long term. But if he has to get blooded in on the right hand side, or even on the left hand side, I'm cool with that. I think the fact that he's gone on the tour and Jose's seen him and played him on the tour, I think everybody that's gone on the tour has got an opportunity to do something. We'll see. I'm fucking excited for this season. I'm excited for that Champions League music back in the Stretford end as well. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
I miss that shit.
Yeah. No, it'll be good. It was just, I just remember at the end of the season, it was just such a gamble. Like just dropping out of the running of getting into the top 4, and like just that feeling, and then just putting all the eggs in one basket. And it's like the only way this ends positive is if we win the game, and then having to win the game. It's just like we've never gone through something like that.
It was Hollywood as fuck, wasn't it?
Or dealt with something like that. Say again?
It was Hollywood as fuck to try and, like, we literally threw the league from... I think from the Chelsea game, I actually think that team that we put out against Chelsea, I think he put some tactics out that he thought he could win, but I think he was also kind of like, if I don't win this, it's okay, sort of thing. Like, I think we're going to lose this. I think that he would have given the team talk as if he was going to go out there and win it, but I think at the back of his mind he was like, he rested players, I think, there. Because it wasn't the greatest starting 11 that he'd ever put out. And then, obviously, the rest of those big games, Arsenal, Spurs, City, we didn't make any effort, really, with the starting 11, at least. And then even the last game we played the most rotated side I've ever seen United put out. And we played amazing football. We played fucking incredible football.
The kids came through. It was crazy.
I don't know.
Played like they've been there.
Yeah, I don't know how they pulled that performance out of nowhere. Not played together before, really, a lot of them. Or certainly not at that first team level.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I guess it's the end of the season, so... But, I mean, let the kids play, man. There might be some shit in there. Let the kids play.
Especially, it was a shock as well, because the under-23s last season was so shit. Individually, there was good players and there was good performances individually, but it just didn't click as a team. We would be playing 5 defenders and 5 midfielders because we had no forwards. So we're asking central midfielders to play up front or on the wing, and you could just tell they just weren't playing in the right place. And then you're playing against all the other academies who've got players playing in the right position, and they're just not able to beat them because you're trying to play a centre mid as a striker against a team who's got the right players in the right places. And you're trying to find like a 1% advantage in these games to make the difference. And we're giving the advantage away just by not playing players in the right positions, just because it's been mismanaged, the under-23s, a little bit over the last few years. And they've really heavily invested in the under-18s. Like, we've signed a couple of players. There's a Spanish kid called Puigmal and a French kid who's like a copy-paste version of Pogba by all accounts, that they've gone heavy for. So I think they're really happy to spend like big money attracting 16-year-olds. But once that 23-year-old, like the under-23 band, they're like just kind of fucking fobbing it off a little bit at the moment. It's
right. They probably think it's almost too late for those guys. And it's like, fuck it. But
you've got like Tuanzebe in there, Mitchell in there, Willock in there, and these good players in there, and you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, man, you don't have to go and sign a £10 million player to play in the 23s. There must be kids that have just been released from a club somewhere that's a striker or a left winger that can come and do a job being a striker or a left winger. He's going to be better than a midfielder playing up front, for fuck's sake. And I just think it just feels a bit mismanaged. But I'm excited for both fronts. I think the under-18s, great manager, great team. The first team, this season, I was hyped last year because I thought Mourinho's a fucking winner. But we're into Mourinho's second season, and he's won a league in every second season at every club that he's been at. I think it's a big ask. He might break that fucking record this year, but I'd make us one of the favourites. From what I've seen in pre-season, from what I saw, that winning mentality that we sort of had last year, like, I'm excited, man.
Yeah. And what do when Rooney gave an interview and was talking about was he saying that the standard at Man U was dropped and him and Carrick were trying to keep it up, but he feels like it's gone, or is it still there?
I couldn't tell what that was all about, because if he's saying the standard has slipped, or some of the players that was brought in made it hard to keep those standards high. Well, those players that was brought in was keeping you out the team. So their standard's higher than your standard. So unless you're talking about maybe mental standards and things like that, well, Rooney dropped off like a cliff and wouldn't have started at United this season. Like, there's no way he didn't get into that starting 11 last night, does he? So
I think the only reason why he started last season was because we wanted to give him Sir Bobby's record.
I think you're probably right, yeah.
That's like, right after he broke it, you barely saw Rooney, Come
on at the last couple of minutes to go and lift the cup in the European Cup final.
Yeah.
Europa
which he deserved that, But, yeah, it's like, Rooney, was he a big drinker around town? Doesn't he take care of himself in the off-season? Like, how do you fall off like that? He's younger than Ibrahimovic, but less effective. But I also think he's also such a team player to the detriment of himself. Like, so he wants to get in the game. So you're going to put him in the midfield. And he's like, hey, this guy's too slow to be a midfielder. Like, Ibrahimovic, he's an older guy. You put him up front, but he's still got his craftiness, and he doesn't have to play the whole game. You got this guy who's slowed down, his skills deteriorating, and you put him to play a position where you're going to get the ball all the time. You're involved in the game most of the time. When you're too old, still, even though he's just early 30s, it's just too old to. It's a prime time position. You need to, as a scorer, you should just be up front to score. When you've lost games.
There wasn't much of him going out getting pissed around town, but he obviously drank a lot. Well, not George Best levels of drinking, but no, he drank.
Right.
And I see people excusing what Rooney did by saying Keane drank, Robson drank, George Best drank. Well, the game's about 100 mile an hour quicker than it was then. It was almost walking pace at times then. The game is so much faster, so much more professional. And when you've got psychologists coming in, and United are installing like these oxygen chamber beds so the players can get naps in between training sessions, trying to find that 0.1% to improve. And you've got players that are out there smoking and drinking. You're like, what the fuck are you doing? You're paid 300 grand a week. There's certain sacrifices that you need to make in your social life. And I see people excusing them saying, oh, they're only human. Yeah, well, do you know what? We actually pay them £1 million a month to not be a human. We actually pay them that money so they can delay being human for a few years, so they can be the absolute best that they can be on the pitch for us. And I think if Rooney's talking about the standard slipping, he's got to look at himself, because he was the captain in that time. Why come out and say it a week after you've moved? Why wasn't he saying this 6 months ago when you was the captain of this club? Why wasn't he saying it 12 months ago when Mourinho came in? Like, right, let's get back in focus. Why was there talk of you coming into pre-season early to get fit when reality was you coming in early to get fit for Everton? And all of these things that have come out since he's left, it makes me feel like he never really fucking liked us anyway. It was a pure job to the guy that he just sort of tolerated us. And I think that's why there is a bit of a lack of a connection with Rooney. But if you're talking about him just as a player, yeah, at 31 years of age, he's older than a 35, 36-year-old Zlatan. I think he redlined himself. He did bust a gut throughout his career. He would throw himself into challenges. Yeah. And I think he picked up a lot of injuries. But when he's a player that's not looking after himself, is he doing the rehab for those injuries correctly? Is he doing everything that he could have done to prolong his career? Now, you heard about at 30, 31, Ryan Giggs was doing yoga. You heard about him going vegan to try and prolong his career, all these things. The things that you hear about Rooney is that he's getting knocked out in his kitchen.
That's the mentality.
So if he's talking about the standards slipping, he needs to go and look at himself in the mirror, because he's part of the reason that the standards are slipping. He was the captain of the club at that time when those standards were slipping, and he didn't say shit until he left. Now that don't sit right with me. I think at one stage Wayne Rooney was a shade under being the best player in the world, but his decline was fast, and I think his decline's very similar to Gerrard's in that they were both forces of nature when they played, and they was very, very physical style of players. But because they was physical style of players, they didn't really have it as upstairs as much as like a Giggs or a Scholes or even a Carrick or a Pirlo. There's someone that, because they've got this in their head, they can play a lot longer because they're not having to tear ass about the pitch. When you tear assing about the pitch like a Gerrard and a Rooney, when you don't have that physicality in you anymore to tear ass around the pitch, and you didn't have that skill level to be able to control a game with your mind rather than just by sheer physical ability, I think that's when the decline comes in completely stark. And on one hand, I think Ronaldo might fall off a cliff at one point because his game has heavily relied on how quick he is and how high he can jump, and and an unbelievable level of fitness. I also think Ronaldo's vain enough to be trying every chemical under the sun that he can get away with.
He takes care of himself. Like I read articles where Zidane had to tell him, you have to chill on the off-field conditioning and save yourself for the end of the season. Like having to tell somebody, hey man, you work out, you take care of yourself too much. Like ease off that. Like that's amazing. And it's a risk, and it worked out. He was there for the end of the season. He was sharp. Like he wants to still compete more than you can tell Rooney wants to still compete. But like you said, that being physical your entire career and giving it all does take a toll later on. But also, a part of being a smart player is learning how to change your game and to learn how to be smarter. Like Clarence Seedorf, man, like to me, it's like two different players from when he started. He was like, he just turned into a fucking genius, like as an old man. I'm like, how is he? This is not that guy. Like, how is he doing this thing? And his career lasted so fucking long. And I enjoyed the end of his career more than I enjoyed the beginning of his career. He was just magic. The shit that he was doing out there towards the end of his career. Like, I didn't know this guy had this. Like, if he'd have been doing, he was like Zidane at the end of his career. And in the beginning of his career, he was like his midfield partner with the dreads. I forgot his name right now.
Davids,
yeah. He was like Davids kind of in the beginning, and then he just turned into Zidane at the end. He was smart.
Ryan Giggs couldn't be further than, unless he played in net, he couldn't have been further away from what he was as the start and end of his career. He was the flying winger, all the tricks, pure individual, and then the game that he played as a cultured midfielder at the end of his game was so far removed from what he started off life. I mean, rarely did you see him like take a man on in the last 5 or 6 years of his career, but he played until he was 40, and I saw him on Wednesday night. I bet he's about half a pound heavier than when he was playing, if that. Maybe not.
Yeah, he stays in shape.
He's in ridiculous shape. It looked like he could still do bits.
What do you think of the chances after Mourinho is gone in 2 years? So we know Mourinho's only going to be here this season and the season after. Oh,
maybe.
We'll see. Come on, man. You know, he's not, what do you think the chances of Giggs being the next coach?
He's got to go and prove it somewhere, and he's got to get out there and do it quick. Pardon?
Say again?
There's a mad... I hope you guys are noticing this at home, because there's a mad delay from when I ask to something coming back. I think it's the processor on this, but... yeah, I was saying he needs to get out there and prove it quick, because he's an old coach entering the game now. A lot of these coaches enter in their late 30s. He was still playing till 40. Now he's 40... Fucking, I don't even know how old he is now. 42, 3, 4, something like that. So, I think he's 43. Let me just have a look. He's 43. He's 44 before the end of this year. So, that's old to be a novice coach. He's only going to have 5 years on him by the time he's 50. So, if he gets a job now.
Yeah, he should... He should get a job now. I mean, like, I'm also looking at Zidane's trajectory, and he was kind of an old coach too. Like, so he started coaching. He was on the bench with Ancelotti, and then then where did they put him in the youth? Did they put him in the? Did he coach the Real Madrid
B team? Yeah,
younger B team when Benitez was there.
Yeah, but at the time, all I was hearing was that Zidane was like this figurehead of the B team, but he wasn't the coach. That was what the word was. I don't know how true it was, but the word was like, yeah, Zidane's there, but this is the guy that's doing the coaching. So when Zidane was appointed, I was like, this ain't going to fucking work. Like, he's got no experience from what I was hearing. He's fucking walked in and smashed it out of the park. So, yeah, maybe you don't need that much hands-on experience if you're good enough. You know, like the 16, 17-year-old Ryan Giggs was. He was good enough at 16, 17 without first-team experience. Maybe. I mean, can lightning strike twice? Can he be a coach straight off the bat without experience?
I mean, Giggs can cite the Zidane case, you know? And Giggs is... Listen, he has the intensity and the seriousness. So if it's going to work for anybody... It might work for him. The only thing is he might be too intense. He seems like a really intense dude.
Giggs?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love it. I mean, it's fairy tale stuff, isn't it? What a career that is. Right. You grow up at Manchester United, you win the fucking lot, you become the record appearance holder, you've won more titles than any living human being ever near enough. And then you go and manage, I know, Norwich for a couple of seasons. You do all right on their expectations. The job opens up at United. You throw your CV down at the road. You get the job. And then, unless he repeats what Fergie did, though, how could he be considered a success? Because if he won one title in 5 years, there's sections of United's fan base, you fucking know it, all them cunts on Twitter, they'd be like, oh, get rid of him, get Pochettino in, or whoever's flavour of the month that year. They would, wouldn't
they? Yeah, he should get it. So is he at Norwich now, or he doesn't have a job?
No, I was just pulling a name out my ass. He's nowhere at the moment.
He should just get a job now in preparation for Mourinho leaving in 2 years. He should be smart enough to do that.
Jose reckons he's staying for 15 years, doesn't he? That's what he said this week.
He ain't doing that. He's bored.
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind offering him the bet on that. I'm like, should we have a bet on that one?
Yeah, exactly. Let me bet you your last paycheck.
Yeah, I'll bet you a year's salary. I'll give you my year's salary if you win, and you give me your year's salary if you win. Is that a fair deal?
Yeah. There you go. Gotta take that deal.
Right. What time's your flight?
I gotta probably go get ready to go catch now. I gotta go eat some lunch and then go catch it right now.
All right. Okay. So I'll wrap it up here then. It's a good point as any. So thank you for joining us, mate.
Oh, my pleasure, man.
Nice to speak to you again. I think you was the 8th person on the podcast, so we're on number 55 now.
Okay.
So thank you for joining us once again. Go check Ian's podcast out. I keep mithering him, telling him to start vlogging because he does loads of Instagram stories at a class. So go give him a follow on Instagram as well. Is it Ian Edwards Comic on Instagram?
Yeah, at Ian Edwards Comic, yeah, on Instagram, yeah.
So go give him a follow on Instagram. He's on Twitter as well. I'll put all the links in the description below. Also check out his podcast, Soccer Comic Rant. Definitely worth checking out. All right, nice one, bro. Right, go check out all the links in the description below. He's also heading over to Australia shortly. So I know we've got a couple of guys that watch in Australia. So head over there. Where is it you are in Australia?
I'm going to be in Sydney, and I'm going to be at the Comedy Store from the 7th through the 20th.
Are you coming over to Europe anytime soon?
Say again?
Are you coming over to Europe anytime soon?
Yeah, I got to fix that. I haven't done that yet in a minute, so I'm going to try to get over there. If not this year, definitely next year for sure.
All right, awesome. Right, well, if you're going to hit up a game, a midweek game or something like that, let me know and I'll come hook up with you. That'll be good. But yeah, thank you to Ian. Make sure you go and check all his shit out. Thanks to you guys for watching. Any questions, anything like that, in below, as usual. And we'll see you later.